I dare to experiment in self-government. Who do I think I am? I'm way beyond the thinking stage.
What's up, America? This is the greatest day in all of the 2000s, besides the day I got married and my kids were born. The man, the myth, the legend. It's nice to finally meet you face
Kyle,
to face.
welcome to the Man Cave Cuckoo's Nest, the arsenal of democracy. Doesn't it feel freedom effervescent down here?
There's just like a gentle, subtle hint of cordite and America.
Yes, indeed. The black cocaine, gunpowder in the morning. Well, we live in Texas because we demand freedom. I'm a radical. I'm an extremist. I dare to experiment in self-government. So I stand up every day and fight for all the radical extreme stuff like God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Ten Commandments, Golden Rule, Declaration of Independence, law and order, good over evil, self-defense. Wow, who does this guy think he is?
You just trigger the part of me that's from Connecticut just a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. I can come there and save you. My daughter, Sasha, and her wonderful family lived in Connecticut for many, many years, but they wanted freedom. They moved. They moved down to Nashville, and even though that's becoming a suburb of LA these days, there are still a lot of holdouts in this country for all the important qualities and values that make the greatest quality of life in the history of the world, the United States of America. So my hope runs eternal.
Well, good men need to stand up and fight. And, I'll give you an example. My wife and I, on Fox and Friends, we pulled our kids out of public school and said we were going to be homeschooling them, and we're moving down to Florida because at some point you have to put your family first.
Yeah, we did that with Rocco. Shemaine and I made that decision many years ago. Even in rural Michigan, of course, Michigan now politically has become a suburb of San Francisco. It's just heartbreaking, a disaster. Like Connecticut, like New Jersey, New York. Illinois is not Chicago.
Nope.
California is not San Francisco. I got a bunch of buddies up there, vineyard operators and gunsmiths and guides and outfitters and pig killers and deer hunters. And the values that bring us quality of life, experimenting in self-government, I really believe it's still the majority. I mean, it's just that the megaphones of the left, the media, academia, big tech, good grief, Hollywood, the powers with the biggest megaphones are the weirdos. They're the dangerous forces. And so it's like the fact checkers. They wouldn't know a fact if it sat on their face and spun around. So I'm 75 years old next week. And I've been clean and sober for 75 years, which makes me really radical. And I was confronted for living perfect things. Yes, the P word, perfect. I was attacked because people in the rock and roll media discovered I carried a gun and that I ate deer. I eat venison. They would attack me for the perfection of self-defense and the perfection of conservation. And I was too dumb to articulate it back in 1965, 66. But eventually I was able to effectively articulate it, ask Pierce Morgan, to crush the nonsense, the dishonesty, the dangerous hate based on that dishonesty and lies. And so I always came out ahead for law and order. In fact, I've been a sheriff deputy in Lake County since 1985. I've done federal raids with the U.S. Marshals and the Texas Rangers. I think I have 14 felony arrests to my credit, which is why my guitar playing is just a little sexier than the rest of them. So I understand that my family's happiness, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that my neighbors, mine, everybody, the people in my inner circle and the people in my outer circle, my efforts and your efforts and law enforcement's efforts to mitigate evil, if they would let us, we could eliminate it. But at least we mitigate the evil to bring safe neighborhoods and safe streets and quality of life and liberty and pursuit of happiness. I figured that out even as a guitar player because I saw the forces of evil in the media attacking me for literally doing perfect stuff. Now, I'm not perfect, but hunting is perfect when the deer eventually show up. And self-defense is perfect. It's as instinctual and pure as life itself and breathing and what the Founding Fathers wrote down in those sacred documents. So thank you for everything you do, because what we're doing here is we're spotlighting an immense, I want to use the word overwhelming, but right now it's almost invisible. But I believe that the good is far more powerful than the evil. It's just that the evil has that power now because good people bent over. And I have to say the ultimate conclusion of where we are in this horrible, horrible world of 2023. The worst human beings in the world, and there's a lot of them. We can go to the Nazis, we can go to the Bataan Death March, we can go to people who think emperors are gods. The worst human beings in the world are right here in America, and they will tell you, I'm not into politics. Well, if you're not into politics, you brought this devil to the White House. And if you're not into politics, you opened the border for an orchestrated invasion. And if you're not into politics, you have cultivated an engineered recidivism of the most horrific violent crime wave in the history of our country. And I could go into the gory details, but I have a funny feeling that people watching right now know those gory details. So as a guitar player who instinctively is driven to maximize good and crush evil, spotlight cockroaches, call them out and stand up for God, family, country, Constitution, law and order. If a goofy guitar player that not only wrote Wango Tango, I meant it. It was biographical, autobiographical. The point is that no one has an excuse ever to say, I'm not into politics, because in Cuba, you're not allowed to be into politics. And if you're not into politics in America, you're a bad American. And you have facilitated and welcomed the invasion, the explosion of violent crime, the grooming of children for perverted sexual assault, and all the bad things that are happening are a direct result of good men bending over. And if I can clarify, what are politics in America? It's monitoring those who we put into office who are supposed to abide by their sacred constitutional oath. And by not being into politics, you let Chuck Schumer get in there. You let Joe Biden get in there. You let Barack Obama get in there. You let Bill Clinton get in there. I mean, I could go on and on with the deviants, the oath violators, the traitors. They're traitors. It's treason. To open the border is the definition of treason. So I'm hyper passionate about self-evident truth, common sense, pragmatism, down-to-earth values, which is what this country is based on. So as a guitar player, I became a sheriff deputy, and I fight evil wherever I find it. In fact, Kyle, I promise you, I've busted more hippies than all the narcs in the history of our country. And I wasn't necessarily violent upon them, but as Don, my Minutemen coffee buddy, just mentioned, by always standing up for truth, logic, and common sense, not my truth, not my logic, not my common sense, the truth, the logic, the common sense is based on historical evidence and proven methodologies. I literally have impacted people who called cops pigs until they might need one. So I know that my big mouth, I have a big mouth. And I'm going to let you ask more questions, get involved here in a second. But you notice that I'm rambling because the conditions are so treacherous out there. Yep. And when you entered my property here at Spirit Wild Ranch in Texas, you entered the American dream. I, the big mouth guitar player from Detroit, the radical, the extremist, I embody, if I may be so humble, the Founding Fathers wanted all Americans to be just like me, to question all authority and demand constitutional accountability from all of our elected employees. That's why I'm a radical. I could not be more proud. And if you put a list together of the people that hate me and lie about me, it proves that I'm a wonderful human being, because the scum of the earth, literally devil worshippers, Whoopi Cushion Goldberg, Michael Moore, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, all these deviants, they hate. Look, I got goosebumps. I'm so proud that the worst people in the world hate me. It proves that I'm almost like Mother Teresa with a Glock. It's like I provide more venison for homeless shelters and soup kitchens while the animal rights people are trying to hire USDA shooters to kill our game for us. I mean, I could go on and on. Where does this energy come from? I'm old. I'm 75 years old. But I had venison this morning. I'm having Minutemen coffee. So thank you for coming here and letting me unleash, because one of the reasons you're here is because you celebrate when I unleash.
100%.
And all I do is unleash. I sleep at night, but then I kill stuff all day, and I crush liberals and Democrats and Marxists and devil worshippers all day. So that's what Ted Nugent is made of. That's what I stand for. Have a nice day. Drive safely.
Wait, I got more.
But get the hell out of the left lane.
So we had an opportunity to
Was that a monologue from hell or what?
That was a beautiful thing. I got goosebumps, Ted. First time we had an opportunity to meet was back in 2021. We were putting on an event, a Back the Blue event in New York.
Yep.
And you flew out with Congressman Higgins.
Great man.
I was
Clay
emceeing
Higgins.
the event.
What a hero.
And what happened when you landed?
Well, the great Greg Mosing put us in Rockstar One jet, and we picked up Clay Higgins in Washington. Just the definition of patriot.
Yep.
The definition of constitutional warrior, Clay Higgins. We should all aspire to be a Clay Higgins.
Who just exposed how many FBI agitators and agents were part of January 6th.
Another example of the duty of we the people, and he epitomizes that. Well, we wanted to come and show support because we knew that punks were being raised to disrespect law enforcement, throw water on them while they're trying to make their neighborhoods safe, and ambushing them while they're in the neighborhood trying to make their neighborhood safe. Hoy vey, my brain doesn't know how to process this kind of toxic misinformation that people who want safe streets are attacking the people that provide safe streets while celebrating the people that make the streets unsafe. Yikes! No wonder Whoopi Cushion Goldberg has a job. So Clay and I, at the behest of you guys, in fact, my instinct, it was even before we communicated, I already went to New York after those kids were throwing water on those cops. And I wish I remembered everybody's name. Mark Waters comes to mind, Lenny DePaul. We got a hold of some of the Brooklyn and Bronx and Manhattan PDs. And I wanted to visit some of the stations. And I was humbled to the core that I would be allowed to address the cops before they went on duty each day, the different times of day. And we drove around, and they were pointing out how the Democrats were cultivating crime increase, celebrating recidivism, engineering recidivism. So I had a great morale boost reminding these cops, whose morale was quite low, that the citizens love you. We love you. We know what you do every day. We know that you're ready to die just to save a street for our kids to go to school safely. So I had already been involved with that, but when you guys invited me to do a big rally with Clay Higgins, we were going to come, I was going to play the national anthem on a fire-breathing Gibson guitar, and we were going to address the troops and remind them that the corrupt bureaucrats who were condemning them and shackling them from doing their law enforcement responsibilities, that those were the bad guys, and that the citizens love the cops. Then they do. The best of the best love the best. The worst of the worst hate the best. And so we land in D.C. and get ready to take off for Long Island to do this rally. And it didn't surprise me at all. We kind of shrugged our shoulders and go, well, that was predictable. That Governor Cuomo, talking about a corrupt criminal bureaucrat, he said that if Clay Higgins and I land in New York, that we would immediately go to jail on a I don't know, because of COVID or
quarantine violation or something.
Yeah, quarantine. It was his word for, Gestapo tactics. So we did not come. We contemplated the visuals that we could orchestrate by landing and what cop would arrest us. But if they can get the FBI agents to violate their constitutional oath, unfortunately, within the law enforcement world, there are weak guys. There are immoral guys that will wipe their ass with the Constitution and obey immoral, oath-violating commands. And that's it in a nutshell. If you even consider violating your constitutional oath, you're a bad guy. If you take an order, and this goes for law enforcement and military, I've been doing this on my Real America's Voice show for years now, well, for the last year, and all my interviews. Cops and military, there's something more powerful than a command, and that's your oath to the Constitution. In fact, you are obligated to defy an immoral command. And you know what an immoral command is. Instinctively, you know if you're told to go to Roger Stone's home at dawn and warn CNN and gear up like it's a commando raid with body armor and M4s, somebody should stand up in the room and go, sir, I can't do that. That's a violation of my oath. You have no probable cause. There's no precedent for this. But unfortunately, I'm afraid, and these are FBI agents I've conducted raids with. I mean, I've kicked down doors at 3 a.m. in Waco, going after a murderer. Now, the murderer missed the vital organs when he stabbed somebody, but if you're stabbing somebody, you're a murderer. You're just not good at it yet. You don't let them practice so the next time they get an artery. It's funny, but it's not funny.
You're right.
It's insanity. If you shoot at somebody, you're a murderer.
Yep.
You're just a shitty shot. Because if you're willing to
Absolutely.
throw lead at people, you're a murderer.
Absolutely.
And if you stab somebody and you didn't kill him, you're still a murderer.
Yep.
You just you didn't know the anatomy accurate. We are living in a Planet of the Apes cuckoo's nest, Clockwork Orange, Babylon, Sodom and Gomorrah times. And because I say things like that, even my own beloved musical industry, did I say beloved? My own
beloved.
weird musical industry, they will attack me. And Tom Werman, my dear friend, who produced some of my biggest records, just a great man. He did an interview recently. He's got a book coming out where he says he just doesn't understand where I picked up on my politics. It's called the Constitution, Tom. I didn't pick up on it. I could have written it, actually, because it's instinctual. They're called self-evident truths. And if you're not a racist, you can't be a member of the Klan. And if you're a member of the Klan, you can't convince me you're not a racist. Because if you claim to not be a racist, you have to quit the Klan. And if you are a Democrat, but you don't believe in open borders, then you have to quit the Democrat Party. And if you're a Democrat, you say, well, I don't believe in letting people pillage mom and pop's businesses up to $900. Well, if you don't believe in that, you have to quit the Democrat Party because that's the Democrat Party.
Well, let's not forget what we saw over the last couple of years, right? It was you don't need guns because the police will protect
It's
you.
unbelievable.
And then it was, well, you don't need police because we're going to defund them. And then you had what I believe was wave 2 of the defund the police movement, which was the vaccine mandates that forced a lot of other cops to
That they're
quit.
finally now turning on. They're welcoming back the brave heroes who said, I'm not taking a shot that can't possibly be a vaccine because no shot has ever been authorized as a vaccine in 4 months. That's not a vaccine. It's still an experimental shot. I'm so aware of that. That's why defiance is the pulse of my very being, because all these hippies and my musical heroes would just ostracize me because I wouldn't snort their cocaine. And I go, well, is there a syllable somewhere in that? I mean, these people couldn't form syllables. They're stumbling and puking and dying and calling it a party. That's not a party. I know what a party looks like. There'll be a lot of guns and some campfires and some flesh on a stick and some really pretty girls. That's a party. No drooling, no puking, no dying, no stumbling, no stink, except for the occasional liver on a stick. So I've always been driven by, again, my battle cry is truth, logic, and common sense. That's what the Founding Fathers' battle cry was. And I made a comment a moment ago. I could have wrote the Constitution. It's so obvious that anything the king didn't allow us to do, we certainly have the right to do. We can speak. We can choose a religion. We can protest our elected employees if they don't do their job. We can assemble. We can have a press that's supposed to be a watchdog. So let's write that. Let's make that the First Amendment. Because the king won't allow any of this stuff. So let's write that down in case somebody wants to be king again, Joe. And if I may, obviously I may. You're in my cuckoo's nest. So I have a First Amendment, Kyle, on planet Earth while I'm alive. It's not restricted to the topography of America. It's not restricted to the United States of America. That's a God-given gift, and I have it on planet Earth wherever I may roam. And you know what? I don't need paperwork. I don't need a license. I don't need a permit for my First Amendment, and it's good wherever I may roam. Let's move on to the Second Amendment now, shall we? I have that right because the Founding Fathers said the king won't allow it, so we need to write it down because it's obviously a God-given individual right, and I have the right to keep and bear arms, which means it's mine, you can't have it, and I got a couple on me right now, always, wherever I may roam. When I tour Europe, I have that right. When I tour Canada, they don't think so, but I have that. And you know what else? I don't need paperwork. I don't need a permit. I don't need a license. And if anybody would like to debate me on that, how a man can determine where I am not allowed to defend my life. I want to meet the man who thinks there's an area where he has control over my life and death. And where did another man get the authority to give me a permit for my God-given rights? Is between me and God. Can I say fuck you on this?
Absolutely.
You gotta be kidding me. You think there's a limit to the jurisdiction of my First Amendment? I have to show paper? Fuck you! Running! And the same with the second, all those rights. I should teach constitutionality because that's it. And now we've been so bent over and so tolerant, so compromised that now you have to have paperwork. And there's areas where some man has determined, I'm sorry, if somebody attacks you over here, there's nothing you can do because I've determined this is a gun-free zone. I don't think so. I don't think so. You've seen me here, there, and everywhere. When I did all those CNN interviews, when I'm in Manhattan, when I'm in Chicago, when I'm in London, I'm armed. I'm armed. I have a clean handkerchief. I have a knife. I have a belt tool. I have another knife. I have guitar picks. I got some challenge coins. I got a flashlight. I got reading glasses. I got my sheriff credentials. I have a pen. Everybody got a pen? I got a pen. I got a lighter. I don't even smoke, but everybody got a lighter? I got a lighter. And I got a pistol and magazines. And I got a fire extinguisher. There's a fire extinguisher right over there. I don't call the fire department. I put out the fire. That's how radical I am. I am what God wanted people to be. Tuned in, respectful of their gifts, their sensuality, their intellect, their spirituality, by not poisoning it, drunk. No drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco, no poison. You know what? You see all this acreage here? You know why I have all this acreage? You know how much money I've spent on alcohol? Is zero. In 75 years, you know how much money I've spent on alcohol? Nothing. You know how much money I've spent on tobacco? Even though I gotta show you, got a bunch of, I don't know if this is even legal. In fact, I'm sure it's not. I've spent no money at all on tobacco, but I do have some Cuban cigars. I think an FBI agent gave me these. Anyhow,
Those Pappy Van Winkle
so
cigars?
these are some points I like to bring up because people, Nugent's out of control. Oh, quite the contrary. I'm in control, and I'm a happy, vibrant motherfucker because I've never spent a dime on dry cleaning, tobacco, drugs, alcohol, or anything bullshit. I buy land. I don't even have to buy ammo because Remington sends it to me. My point is that I'm glad you're doing this interview because the left has just gone berserk. They've had a maniacal orgy of hate and lies against me. And I go to sleep at night making little puppy noises. I'm so happy because we've gone full circle from the beginning of this exchange. The worst of the worst are just driven crazy by my common sense, my logic, my independence, my individuality, my visions, and it sounds like I'm bragging, but you know what I'm really doing? I'm genuflecting at the altar of God that He gave me this stuff. How dare I not use it, nurture it, put it to work, and protect it from the insane trends of partying. I do party, but there's no throw up in my parties. There's no stumbling and dirt bags in my party.
You know, Ted, I think the country owes you a debt of gratitude because you have brought into light some of the important conversations we have to have about spiritual warfare,
yes,
about the border crisis, about law and order. We've spent the last few weeks on the border in Arizona with the National Border Patrol Council, Sheriff Lamb, Sheriff Daniels, those
great
guys.
Friends. These are my friends.
Over, down on the border here in Texas with Texas DPS and Border Patrol Council and TMPA.
They're so frustrated, yeah.
I got to tell you, not only am I horrified at what I've seen in terms of the invasion, which is what this is that's happening.
Yeah, it's orchestrated invasion.
But America is truly on a ticking time bomb, and the fact that you just had the FBI director, of all people, come out on 3 separate occasions and say, yeah, there are terrorists all over and we don't know where they are and we're on a ticking time bomb, says to me that there's a lot that they know that they're not willing to share, and I saw it firsthand. The number of apprehensions are nothing compared to the number of gotaways. When you have almost 270 OTMs, or people from countries other than Mexico,
yeah.
Including, Mauritania, Iraq, Afghanistan, hundreds,
Sudan, Nigeria,
hundreds
Somalia,
of thousands from China,
military-age men.
And then you combine that with the fact that we have less than 3% of cargo coming from overseas that gets inspected, and you have known terrorists that are being apprehended at the border. The fact that anybody in this country thinks it would be a wise idea to disarm citizens of all times right now, we need that wake-up call.
Well, we did get a nice little celebration in the last 24 hours that a number of polls, even NBC, even the enemy had to admit that Americans have more firepower now than ever in the history of mankind, because we see the heartbreak of heartbreak that Uncle Sam has turned on us, the government has turned on us. People of intellect, pragmatism, down to earth, work ethic, making sacrifices and taking risks to be in the asset column for God, family, country, law and order. Less smart people out there. And they see, and here's the truth, and if I dare people to debate me. They've tried and they've failed miserably. Not only is it engineered recidivism, it's engineered recidivism. Guys on film shooting each other in Chicago and they drop the gun charges, but they want to go after my goose gun. It's a bad Saturday Night Live skit, which summarizes all of them for the last 8 years. But you're the best Americans, people of God, family, country, work ethic, law and order. There's not one bureaucracy that we trust. CDC, are you kidding me? FBI, are you kidding me? ATF, are you kidding me? DOD, DOJ, EPA, the ones that are killing more whales and dolphins on the East Coast than the history of Japanese whalers with their scam wind turbines and their scam EV lie. So we're at a tipping point. That's why Donald Trump means more now than ever, because he's the only guy that brought a crowbar to the doily party. Secure borders. getting us out of global contracts that just rape and pillage our paychecks and our tax dollars. There's nothing that Uncle Sam is doing right now that is proper, righteous, or moral. Let me say that again. Nothing that Uncle Sam is doing today is righteous or moral. Our government is immoral. Our government is the enemy of America. Nugent's one of these government haters. No, if it was the government the Founding Fathers designed, I'm in love with that. But what we are experiencing right now is a corruption and criminality level unprecedented in the history of our country.
The reality of it is that we hear from FBI agents on the ground, guys in every agency in our country that are good men and women that are saying our agency, our department has been weaponized. We have political hacks in police chief uniforms in some cases that are more concerned about getting an elected position after than they are about actually serving and upholding the Constitution. When you see FBI agents, U.S. Marshals, federal air marshals who are pulled from doing their duties to be following January 6th people who were nearby.
You pussies. The only good federal agent today is a whistleblowing federal agent. If you obey the insane command to not watch for hijackers during the engineered invasion of our country by jihadists, if you're told to follow people that were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th because they were doing a job interview, you've proven that they weren't even at the rally, even if they were, and you're using all your law enforcement resources to follow these people all these years later. You have no soul. I mean, do you lie to your children like that? How can you be good in any capacity? And believe me, I got buddies in the FBI. Most of them have quit, retired. I had to rely on FBI. I did raids here in Texas with the Falcon raids, federal and local cops organized nationally, with the guidance of the great Tom Smith, U.S. Marshal, hero, warrior. And we had ATF, FBI, Texas Rangers, U.S. Marshals, obviously, and we had some local Waco PD and sheriff officers. And we were going after murderers and rapists and carjackers and gun runners and child molesters. And I went, shouldn't we be going after the judges and the parole boards that let these guys out? Why are we after these guys? We had these guys.
100%.
Who lets a child molester out? Who lets a rapist out? Who lets carjackers out? You know what they might be doing again as soon as you let them out? It might be carjacking again. Not might, 99% recidivistic. Yep. So I've had to rely, I'm kicking down doors. We took turns kicking down doors. So I've been into the adrenaline tsunami. I know what that's like. Not just on stage playing my songs, which is awesome, but dangerous emotional conditions. Kicking down doors of a murderer, a guy that shoots cops. And I've had to rely on FBI agents, literally had my six. I mean, you're dangerous not only this way, it's that way and that way. And so we go in as teams. And so I trusted those FBI agents and those ATF agents to cover my back as they trusted me to cover theirs. It's a serious tactical responsibility. So I know that there are warriors in those federal agencies. But if you're not blowing the whistle on your superior's immorality and oath violating, you're just as bad as they are. People have tried to get me to do stupid stuff all my life, and I went, I'm not thinking. I don't think so, pal. I stand up. I will not. I've had guys, you can put my tag on that deer. And I go, I don't think so. In fact, I think you're undercover. In fact, here's my philosophy in life. This isn't philosophy, this is pragmatism. If a really gorgeous, skinny young girl comes up and flirts with me, Shemaine hired her. How's that?
The honeypot.
If anybody recommends that I break a game law, he's undercover. That's a word to the wise. If anybody tries to get you to do something you know is wrong, they're recording it.
100%.
So I got goosebumps because I'm a big mouth, which again is what the Founding Fathers wanted we the people to be. That's part of your experimenting in self-government responsibility, to be a big mouth, to not be afraid to go, hey, what are you doing over there, Mr. Agent? What do you mean you're coming to, I bought a few guns and you want to see them. Who the fuck are you? Remember that guy?
Yep.
You went to the guy's house and the guy called the cop because the guy here pretended to be an ATF agent, wants to see my guns. The sheriff came and held the guy gunpoint. I got arthritis. What a bunch of pussies. Oh my God. Anyhow, so I have been challenged and tempted forever because Ted Nugent's a wild guy, man. He'll do anything. No, I won't. I won't do dumb stuff. I won't do illegal stuff. I won't do foolish stuff. So let that be a word of the wise. If you're ever tempted to do something wrong, you're being filmed. Don't do it. Just do good stuff. Let your conscience be your guide.
Well,
and that's what I'm saying to these FBI agents, the ATF agents. Do you even have a conscience? And I'm not talking about the good guys. Only guilty need to feel guilty. I'm talking about the guys that violate their oath. The worst people in the world that have law enforcement power and they abuse it. That is the curse of curses.
Predictions for 2024.
Oh my. I'll try to keep it on the positive here.
Who said you had to do that?
Donald Trump. What a force to reckon with. There's a good police dog. Michigan State Police drug sniffer. Coco. Good girl. And the world's greatest German Shepherd duck hunter. Hi, Coke. Predictions for 2024. That this visible rise of we the people finally realizing that we've compromised and tolerated evil. That Donald Trump was sent by God as a defiant, no compromise warrior for original America. Experiment in self-government, self-evident truths, divine intervention. I see it at school boards most obviously, where parents came in and went, "You're teaching my kids what?" And you try to read the pornography from a second grader's book and they won't even let you read it to the adults, but they'll let you read it to kids?
Yep.
So there's been an exploding reawakening of individual responsibilities, particularly as parents and as citizens. And my prediction is that this wake up will manifest itself in getting a legal election, a legitimate election where only living American citizens get one vote each. That's radical. If only living U.S. citizens get one vote each, like in 2020 and 2016, it was already somewhat compromised, but they weren't ready for this outsider named Donald Trump. And in 2020, they were scared to death of this guy who was spotlighting the cockroaches that were already deep into the criminal corruption, the military congressional complex. My prediction is that America will finally rise up and we're going to demand a legitimate election and Donald Trump will be elected. And my dream is that Joe and Hunter Biden, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton and the whole gang, Schumer, and so many of these guys that are so compromised, so corrupt, that we will see the Jeffrey Epstein video footage. We will see the Jeffrey Epstein island footage. We will find out the truth about the Las Vegas shooting. We'll find out the manifesto of the Nashville shooter and all these other shooters and the Uvalde shooter and the cops in Uvalde. Could that have been the most embarrassing time in the history of law enforcement?
Yeah, it might very well have been.
Very well may have been the most embarrassing moment where guys trained to be warriors acted like little girls.
Yep.
Stupid. Oh, what a horrible, horrible. But all that will come and be exposed. Maybe even the Kennedy assassination. See that old Ozzy didn't have anything to do with it. And the Robert Kennedy assassination. I believe RFK's.
His life is in jeopardy.
Yeah, and I believe that his conclusion on it is Sirhan. It wasn't shot from the back by Sirhan; he was shot from the front.
Shameless plug time. How can people follow you, learn more? And by the way, thank
Well,
you for the delightful coffee.
Yes, I am the Minutemen. We are the Minutemen. People can tune into the Truth, Logic, Common Sense celebration. I have a Real America's Voice Spirit Campfire every week. Our Ted Nugent Spirit of the Wild TV show is 34 years running now. It's been a top-rated conservation constitutional celebration. Now it's on the Pursuit Channel 8 times a week. Shemaine's Queen of the Forest episodes are, that's my wife.
You married way up.
That's my girl. That's, no matter what you think of me, you gotta congratulate me. I must be doing something right. So I have a big mouth. I'm experimenting in self-government. I'm more now than ever, if you can imagine. But with the Spirit of the Wild TV show in Pursuit, our Real America's Voice, Shemaine has a Real America's Voice, Faith and Freedom. I do interviews in media all the time. During the hunting season, I hunt every morning and every afternoon, but I do media in the middle of the day because I'm the only guy that has this take on things, that I'm not afraid. I mean, I have so many A-list celebrity friends that will not talk about this stuff, but they believe in it. But if you believe in something and you're not willing to stand up for it, I'm sorry, you are a coward. I'm not into politics. Then move to Cuba where you're not allowed to be into politics. Being into politics is a responsibility of an American.
Ted, honor and a blessing.
Back at you, man.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Kyle.
Be safe.
God bless the warriors. Fire breathers. We need fire breathers in law and order.
Thank you all for watching. God bless you all. God bless America.